Ava Stalker was just another teenager from New Jersey, full of dreams and an infectious energy that made her a natural fit for the world of social media. Born on September 9th, 2006, she grew up in a digital age where children were as comfortable in front of a camera as they were in their own bedrooms. Her mother, Kimberly, frequently shared pictures of Ava on public social media platforms. And as the years passed, the young girl developed a knack for engaging with an audience. From an early age, Ava had an undeniable charisma. She was the type of girl who could walk into a room and immediately draw people in with her energy. Whether she was cracking jokes, dancing, or telling stories, she had an innate ability to entertain. It was no surprise that when she discovered social media, she found it to be the perfect outlet to express herself. Ava started by creating content just for fun. Like many kids her age, she dabbled in short videos, capturing moments of her life and sharing them online. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube were becoming the dominant forces in digital entertainment, and Ava was eager to be part of the movement. She watched influencers gain millions of followers, turning simple videos into careers, and she was inspired. If they could do it, why couldn't she? Her first videos were casual, lip-syncing to popular songs, participating in viral dance challenges, and pulling pranks on her family. The content was lighthearted and fun, a true reflection of her personality. At first, her audience consisted mostly of friends, family, and a few strangers who happened to stumble upon her videos. But something about Ava stood out. Maybe it was her playful energy, her effortless charm, or her ability to make people smile. Whatever it was, people kept watching. As her follower count slowly climbed, Ava started paying closer attention to what worked. She analyzed which videos performed the best, what trends were gaining traction, and how she could make her content even more engaging. She experimented with different styles, fine-tuning her approach. Some videos would get a few hundred views, others would reach thousands. And then one day, a video went viral. The video in question was a simple dance challenge, one that countless people had participated in before her. But Ava's execution was flawless. Her moves were sharp, her expressions engaging, and she radiated confidence. Within hours, the video racked up hundreds of thousands of views. Within days, it had crossed the million-view mark. Suddenly, her follower count skyrocketed. Ava Stalker was no longer just another teenager on social media. She was becoming an influencer. With newfound recognition came new opportunities. Brands began reaching out, offering sponsorships and partnerships. Companies wanted her to promote their products, from clothing brands to beauty products, and even tech gadgets. For a teenager, the financial incentives were staggering. What had started as a hobby was now turning into a career. She was making money doing something she loved, and it felt like a dream come true. By the time she was 16, Ava had amassed over 1.2 million followers on TikTok. Her content had evolved, incorporating not just dance and lip-syncing videos, but also comedic skits, lifestyle vlogs, and collaborations with other influencers. She was invited to exclusive events, connected with celebrities, and even had opportunities to expand beyond social media. The possibilities seemed endless. But fame, especially online fame, came with its challenges. As Ava's presence on the internet grew, so did the scrutiny. She found herself dealing with hateful comments, people criticizing everything from her appearance to her personality. Some accused her of being too perfect, while others picked apart her videos for the smallest imperfections. At first, she tried to brush it off, but the negativity had a way of creeping in. Beyond the trolls and critics, there were fans, most of them supportive and kind, but some who blurred the lines between admiration and obsession. Messages flooded her inbox daily, ranging from casual compliments to unsettling confessions of love from complete strangers. Some fans seemed convinced they had a personal connection with her, despite never having met her. Others took things a step further, tracking down her personal information, sending unsolicited gifts, and trying to contact her family. Ava's parents had always supported her social media career, but they started growing more concerned. Her father, Robert, was especially wary. As a retired police officer, he had seen firsthand the dangers that came with unwanted attention. He warned Ava to be careful, to avoid sharing too much personal information online, and to always be aware of her surroundings. But at 16, Ava was still riding the high of her success. She loved what she did, and she didn't want fear to hold her back. She tried to maintain a balance between enjoying her fame and protecting herself. She became more cautious about what she shared, limiting the personal details in her videos. She adjusted her privacy settings, restricting who could message her. But the reality was, once you're famous online, there's only so much you can control. As Ava continued to grow her brand, she had no idea that one of her fans had crossed the line from admiration to obsession. That among the millions of people watching her every move, there was one who wasn't content with simply being a fan. One who was about to turn her dream life into a nightmare. As Ava Stalker's social media fame grew, she became accustomed to the endless notifications, messages, and comments that flooded her accounts daily. Most of the attention was harmless. Fans expressing admiration, friends and fellow influencers engaging with her content, and brands reaching out for collaborations. But among the sea of messages, one name began appearing more frequently than the rest: Eric Rohan Justin. At first, he was just another follower. An 18-year-old from Maryland, Eric seemed like any other admirer, liking Ava's posts and leaving friendly comments. He was persistent but not overly alarming. Ava, like many influencers, was used to dedicated fans who engaged regularly with her content. But over time, Eric's interactions began to stand out. He wasn't just another casual viewer, he was obsessed. Eric followed Ava into online gaming sessions, playing multiplayer games with her and her younger brothers. He found ways to insert himself into her virtual world, becoming a familiar presence. His comments turned from generic compliments to deeply personal messages, as if he knew her beyond the screen. He would mention details about her life that she hadn't publicly shared, leaving Ava unsettled. How much did he know? How was he finding this information? Then came the direct messages. At first, Ava responded politely. She had always tried to be kind to her followers. But Eric's messages quickly escalated. He wasn't just a fan, he was fixated. He sent long, emotional paragraphs, professing his admiration and affection. He claimed he understood her better than anyone else. He believed they had a connection, even though they had never met. Soon, the requests for personal photos began. At first, they were harmless, selfies, pictures of her daily life. But as time went on, his demands became more inappropriate. He wanted pictures that crossed boundaries. Ava, feeling uncomfortable, stopped responding. She hoped he would take the hint and move on. But Eric didn't back off. Instead, he became more desperate. When Ava ignored his messages, he found other ways to reach her. He sent her $500 in cash, an unsolicited gift accompanied by an apology letter in which he claimed he was broke and pleaded for her forgiveness. The gesture felt manipulative, as if he were trying to buy her attention. Ava had never asked for money, nor had she given him any reason to believe they had a personal relationship. It was a stark reminder of how distorted his perception of reality had become. She blocked him on all her social media accounts, thinking that would put an end to it. But Eric's obsession didn't wane. It intensified. He wasn't willing to let Ava slip away so easily. Blocked from direct communication, Eric turned to other means. He started tracking down people from Ava's past. Former classmates, acquaintances, even distant connections. He offered them money in exchange for personal information. Her phone number, private photos, anything he could use to re-establish contact. Some people ignored him, disturbed by his persistence. Others, lured by the money, gave him what he wanted. Through these back channels, Eric managed to obtain Ava's contact information again. He created new accounts, disguising himself under different names, and messaged her with chilling persistence. He reminded her that he wasn't going away, that he would always find a way to reach her. Ava, now genuinely frightened, confided in her parents. Her father, Robert, had been wary of her online presence from the start. As a retired police officer, he understood the dangers of social media better than most. When Ava showed him the messages, he immediately recognized the signs of an unstable individual spiraling into dangerous territory. He warned her to be careful, to stay alert. But even he didn't yet grasp the full extent of Eric's obsession. Ava tried to shake it off, but the fear lingered. She had always loved connecting with her audience, but now, the thought of being so visible to strangers unsettled her. Every time she posted a video, she wondered who was watching. Every new message notification made her stomach tighten. She hated the idea that someone she had never met believed they had a claim over her life. The situation escalated even further when Eric attempted to buy a shotgun from one of Ava's classmates. It wasn't just about contacting her anymore. He was preparing for something more sinister. His messages took a darker turn, hinting at violence, at a plan he wouldn't fully reveal. He became more erratic, more unpredictable. And worst of all, he was getting closer. Ava had always thought of social media as a world separate from reality, a space where she could entertain, express herself, and build a career. But Eric shattered that illusion. The boundary between the digital and the physical world was disappearing, and she could feel his presence inching closer to her real life. Then, in July 2021, the nightmare truly began. Eric, undeterred by the miles between them, traveled from Maryland to Naples, Florida. He was no longer just an online stalker. He was in her city, in her neighborhood. He had made the journey with one purpose: to confront Ava in person. On July 10, 2021, at 4:30 a.m., he arrived at the Stalker family home, armed with a shotgun. His obsession had reached its breaking point. After Ava Stalker blocked Eric Rohan Justin on all her social media accounts, she hoped that would be the end of his disturbing messages and unwanted attention. But for Eric, it was just the beginning. His obsession didn't wane. It intensified, morphing into something even more dangerous. Denied direct contact, he became more desperate and reckless, escalating his efforts to remain connected to Ava's life at any cost. When Eric could no longer reach Ava, he turned to those around her. He scoured the internet for any information he could find, tracking down people from her old school in New Jersey. He messaged her former classmates, pretending to be someone from her past, or, in some cases, outright offering money in exchange for personal information. He was looking for anything: pictures, her phone number, an address, any way to maintain his fantasy that Ava was a part of his life. As his messages became more erratic, those who knew Ava started to take notice. Some of her former classmates reported the unusual inquiries, warning her that Eric was asking about her. The idea that someone she had never met in person was trying to dig into her past unsettled her deeply. It wasn't just about online interactions anymore. Eric was crossing into real-world territory. His obsession soon took a darker turn. No longer satisfied with mere information, Eric attempted to obtain a firearm. He reportedly asked one of Ava's former classmates if they could help him buy a shotgun. While the request initially seemed bizarre, it soon became horrifyingly clear what he was planning. Then came the night that changed everything. It was the early morning hours of July 10, 2021. Ava and her family were sound asleep in their Naples, Florida home, unaware that danger was just outside their front door. At precisely 4:30 a.m., a sudden explosion shattered the silence. A gunshot. Eric Rohan Justin had arrived at their home, armed and ready to force his way inside. Dressed in an orange Walmart vest and protective safety glasses, Eric fired a shotgun blast through the front door. The impact sent a shower of wooden splinters flying through the entryway, rattling the entire house. The Stalker family awoke in sheer terror. Ava felt the force of the moment hit her like a tidal wave. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't an internet troll. This was real. Panic gripped the house. Ava, her brothers, and her mother scrambled in different directions, their instincts screaming at them to find safety. Ava rushed to a bedroom and locked the door behind her, her heart pounding in her chest. Her mother, Kimberly, grabbed her phone and desperately dialed 911. Her hands shaking as she pleaded for help. But Ava's father, Robert Stalker, knew there was no time to wait for authorities. A retired police officer, he had spent years in law enforcement, trained to respond in moments of crisis. As Eric attempted to force his way further into the house, Robert acted. Grabbing his own firearm, Robert confronted Eric outside. What happened next was over in seconds, a brief but decisive encounter. Robert fired, striking Eric before he could cause any more harm. The young man who had spent months obsessing over Ava, planning this terrifying moment, collapsed. By the time police arrived, it was over. The scene was horrifying. Eric lay lifeless, his phone found nearby, filled with pictures and videos of Ava. His digital footprint revealed a disturbing reality. He had been planning this attack for months. From the moment he started messaging Ava to the final, terrifying act, he had created a fantasy world in which she belonged to him. And when reality didn't align with his delusions, he tried to force it to. For the Stalker family, the nightmare wasn't just about what had happened that night. It was about everything that had led up to it. The warning signs had been there. But how could they have known just how far Eric was willing to go? How could anyone predict that a teenage girl's social media success would one day lead to a violent home invasion? As the dust settled and the police investigation unfolded, it became clear just how close Ava had come to tragedy. This wasn't just an obsessed fan. It was someone who had turned his infatuation into a deadly mission. The case left law enforcement stunned, highlighting the terrifying reality of digital-age celebrity and the dangers influencers could face from the very followers who idolized them. That night changed Ava's life forever. The fear that had once been confined to her phone screen had materialized into something real, something tangible. The line between online and offline had been erased in the most horrifying way possible. The night of July 10, 2021, left Ava Stalker and her family forever changed. What was once their safe haven had become the site of an unimaginable attack. The reality of what had happened, an obsessed follower showing up at their home with a shotgun, was almost too horrifying to comprehend. But as the immediate shock began to fade, the Stalker family was forced to deal with the long-term consequences of that night. In the days following the attack, Ava struggled to come to terms with what had happened. The realization that someone had been willing to kill or die for access to her was terrifying. Social media had once been a fun escape, a way to express herself and connect with others. Now it felt like a direct threat to her safety. Her family made the difficult decision to move. Their Naples home, once filled with laughter and memories, now felt unsafe. Every creak, every shadow outside sent waves of anxiety through them. The invasion had robbed them of their sense of security, and no amount of reinforcement or security systems could bring it back. A fresh start was the only option. But even in a new home, Ava couldn't escape the realities of her fame. The attack had made headlines, turning her into a symbol of the dangers of online celebrity. Yet, instead of sympathy, some people blamed her. Anonymous users online questioned why she had engaged with followers in the first place. Others accused her of exaggerating the situation for attention. Victim-blaming comments flooded social media, making an already traumatic experience even worse. To make matters worse, the threats didn't stop. Even after Eric Rohan Justin's death, new strangers emerged, trying to contact Ava in disturbing ways. One man offered her $1,000 in exchange for her phone number. Another, a registered sex offender, attempted to reach out. A former classmate even sent her a video of himself at a shooting range, firing a gun, a chilling reminder of what she had survived. The Stalker family decided to take legal action. They filed for a court injunction to prevent further harassment, attempting to set legal boundaries against the individuals who continued to pursue Ava. In February 2023, Ava testified in court, bravely sharing her experiences and detailing the ongoing threats she faced. But in a devastating blow, the case was dismissed. The legal system had failed her, just as it had failed countless others facing online harassment and stalking. Despite this setback, Ava refused to let fear dictate her life. She knew she couldn't erase what had happened, but she could use her platform to raise awareness. Her story became a cautionary tale, a warning to other influencers and social media users about the dangers of online exposure. She spoke out about the risks that young influencers face, advocating for stronger online protections and urging social media platforms to do more to safeguard their users. Many people saw influencers as invincible, living glamorous lives with fame and fortune. But Ava's experience exposed the dark reality. Internet fame comes with risks that many are unprepared to handle. TikTok temporarily suspended Ava's account, but she didn't give up. Social media had given her so much: opportunities, friendships, and a career, and she wasn't ready to let it be taken from her. She continued creating content, but with a newfound awareness of the risks. Her family invested in security measures, learning from the horrifying ordeal. They set stricter boundaries, carefully managing what was shared online and how they interacted with followers. Her father, Robert, who had been forced to take a life to protect his family, carried his own burden. While he had acted in self-defense, the emotional weight of that night lingered. The experience had transformed all of them, leaving scars that were both visible and invisible. Ava's story isn't just one of survival. It's one of resilience. She has faced terror, trauma, and relentless harassment, yet she refuses to be defined by fear. Instead, she is using her experience to educate others, to push for change, and to ensure that other young influencers understand the risks that come with online fame. The world of social media is constantly evolving, offering endless opportunities but also exposing individuals to unseen dangers. Ava Stalker's journey is a stark reminder that fame is not always glamorous, that behind the filters and viral videos, there can be real-life consequences. But Ava refuses to be a victim. She continues to move forward, stronger and wiser than before. Her story will not be forgotten, and neither will the lessons it carries. Social media has changed her life in ways she never could have imagined, both for better and for worse. And now she's determined to make sure that her experience helps others stay safe in a world where the lines between online and real life are becoming increasingly blurred.